Night falls over the flatlands of Texas. Through the darkness, red dots sweep across the field's hunters, tracking movement no one can see with the naked eye. In a single night, more than 3,000 wild hogs are killed, not for sport, for survival. The footage shows fields ripped apart, fences, broken crops flattened under the weight of hundreds of animals moving as one. Helicopters hover above, guiding shooters on the ground. Every flash of light marks another shot in a silent war. What would you do if the enemy wasn't human but born from nature itself? This isn't a hunting story, it's a fight for survival, a struggle between people and a wild force they can't control. If you've ever watched the wild take back what was once ours, you know this story isn't far away. Tell us, do you believe nature still answers to us, or have we already lost control? By morning, the damage is clear and heavy. Fences are down, posts snapped in half. Rows of corn and soybeans lie flattened under hundreds of pounds of animal weight. The soil is torn open, deep ruts stretching for hundreds of feet. The smell of mud and diesel fills the cool air. Across 35 states, the same story repeats. Wild hogs have exploded from 2 million in 2000 to over 6 million by 2020. They travel in herds, sometimes hundreds strong, eating and digging through farmland, pastures, and riverbanks. Every year, the losses rise above $2.5 billion. Crops, destroyed fences, replaced soil stripped of nutrients. Native deer and birds vanish as the land turns bare. A farmer looks out over what's left of his field boots, sinking into wet dirt, the hum of insects filling the silence. The land that once fed families now feeds chaos. Every hoof print is a scar, and every scar a warning. Across the South, the fight never really ends. In Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, farmers organize night patrols. They set heavy steel traps, mount thermal cameras on poles, and send drones over open fields. Some hire helicopters with shooters on board, tracking herds from the sky. The noise never stops. Truck engines idle, dogs bark. The sharp echo of gunfire rolls across miles of farmland. Floodlights sweep through the dark as hundreds of wild hogs charge through the rows, each weighing more than 200 pounds. When they move, fences collapse and the ground trembles under their hooves. The smell of gunpowder and diesel hangs low in the humid air. A farmer wipes mud from his face and mutters, "We're not hunting, we're defending what's left." Farther south along the coast, fishermen fight the same battle. Hogs tear into fish pens, eat feed by the sack, and leave nothing behind but wreckage. By midnight, the fields glow red under infrared light, a thin barrier between man and the wild. On one side, survival. On the other, nature's will to reclaim what was once hers. The fight soon turns into a moral crossroads. On one side stand the farmers, exhausted and angry. Their fields are gone, Their fences destroyed, their debts growing. For them, stopping isn't an option. If we stop, one man says our families starve. On the other side are biologists and conservationists. They warn that constant killing will only deepen the imbalance. If you keep killing, a scientist explains, the land will never heal. The truth lies somewhere in between. Wild hogs were brought to North America centuries ago by settlers from Europe. They were bred for hunting and meat until they escaped, multiplied, and spread faster than anyone could control. Now the hunter and the hunted are bound by the same mistake. In one quiet scene, a farmer steadies his rifle. The red beam of his scope rests on a boar frozen in the dark. For a moment, neither moves. Who is the real invader, the beast or the man who brought it here? The question hangs unanswered, lost in the hum of the night. What began as a plague has slowly turned into profit. Across the South, wild hog meat, once discarded, now appears on menus in high-end restaurants. It's branded as wild pork, praised for its lean texture and smoky flavor, a true taste of the wild. At auctions, hunters sell hundreds of pounds of meat each week. In some states, the trade has become a small industry of its own. By day, the same animals destroy cornfields and pastures. By night, their meat is served on silver plates beside fine wine and candlelight. The contrast is hard to ignore. The same creature that drives families into debt now feeds another's luxury. When profit meets nature, the narrator says, the line between use and abuse begins to blur. And somewhere between business and survival, the question remains, how much of nature can be sold before it's gone for good? States across the South have turned to technology for answers. Electric fences stretch for miles. Ground sensors detect movement. Drones fly low with thermal cameras, while satellites trace herds moving through forests and farms. Some systems even use AI to predict where the animals will strike next. But every morning, new hoof prints appear in the mud. Fresh damage marks another failed night of defense. Technology builds walls, the narrator says, but nature always finds cracks. Experts warn that technology alone can't fix the problem. They argue the land itself must recover, that predators like wolves and cougars, once wiped out, should return to keep balance. Others call for replanting forests and rebuilding wetlands to give nature room to heal. This war has grown beyond wild hogs. It has become a lesson in how humans confront the living world, with machines or with humility. The question remains, are we fighting nature or fighting the consequences of forgetting it? Morning light creeps over the Texas plains. The air is still damp, the soil stained red from a long night. Across the open field, small green shoots begin to rise through the mud, a quiet sign that life continues. The war against the wild hogs was never just about crops or fences. It was about understanding limits, about learning where human power ends and where nature begins. Perhaps survival isn't about control, it's about coexistence. In the soft light, two sets of prints mark the ground, the wide hoof of a hog beside the boot of a farmer. For a moment, they move in the same direction. The story doesn't end here. Subscribe to discover legends, ring the bell, and join our next voyage. If you still believe nature remembers, comment yes below, because the wild is still watching.